Vamos a ver qué onda. Este video aparentemente era algo de Blight, pero parece que lo iba como que a hacer un rework a Blight. Es lo que me parece que estaba haciendo Mako. Vamos a ver qué onda.
My name is Chris Wildotter and welcome to the Legacy series, a place where we revisit every Path of Exile league and try to generate new ideas without any care for balance or implementation. Only fun is allowed. Today's league will be Blight. We asked many players about the general opinion of the Blight mechanic, and we found out that there were basically two kinds of responses. Either they loved it and want their maps as Ravaged as their cardio, or they wanted erased from the face of the earth as their cardio. We thought at first this was the case of boomers coming from the TD custom maps in Warcraft 3 against mostly younger, more fresh human beings coming to the ARPG genre. But then we realized ARPG player base is as fresh as that carrot forever lost between the fridge drawers, which is then found looking like a 100-year-old witch finger.
Igual, un dato interesante acerca de Blight es que Blight tenía un Uber contenido que nunca salió. Y no era los Blighted Ravaged Maps. Era algo más. Pero nunca, supongo que no les dio chance en el tiempo que lo estaban desarrollando completarlo, pero nunca lo sacaron. Pero están las voces están grabadas y están en el juego. No las puedo acceder por medios normales, pero están ahí.
The solution we found to the splitted opinions was simple. If you don't like this mechanic, well, you. But you should still watch this video as your superior league could be the next one to be spotted. And you might want to know what to expect. And that will be new items, new skills, new bosses, new mechanics, and new microtransactions. Of course. Now, let's start.
Of course.
Burning away our sins, cast your burning gaze to thine soul, and the unrighteous were turned to ash.
We felt this breath was undying.
Hey, that's pretty good.
From where we came, but the creatures affected by this parasite were active. There was no calm to be found in great lust. The storm confessed without warning. An explosion followed by a deafening scream.
Pero está muy bueno. Está muy bueno, wow.
Spores of mycelium ran all over the coast. Something has awakened.
You must be cleansed!
Algunas imágenes son como que, ok, más o menos, pero todo el diálogo y toda la parte escrita y toda la
Blight Legacy,
la forma en cómo está actuado en voz está fantástico.
Finally following the roots to unveil the original source of the Blight, the mycelium idol of Isgazil, previously known as the Idol of Communion. It was a powerful relic worshipped and passed through generations by the Isilian tribe. In their folklore, every newborn was thought to be cursed by the gods with the burden of free will, empty and devoid of their ancestors' wisdom. When they come to age, they perform the ritual of communal bond, where they willingly sacrifice their individuality to join the tribe's collective mind. Their past experiences, achievements, and failures absorbed by the idol and thus by the Isilian people. We still don't know what happened to both the people of Ixcazil.
Man, eso en realidad es un plot muy bueno, ¿eh? Me suena que he escuchado algo similar en otra parte, pero ese es un plot muy bueno. O sea, yo vería una serie de esto.
And the idol itself. They didn't have written or carved language, as their knowledge was shared by the communal bond, making the reconstruction of history next to impossible. But what if the idol was never truly lost, only buried over the years, only to latch itself and its conscience to the only living thing it could. The hive must endure. Blight was probably one of the most innovative mechanics we have ever introduced in Path of Exile from other games genres, except maybe for the Conflict League showcase right here. Bringing the tower defense game mode to Red Class opened new ways for the game to be played and options.
Pero los minijuegos de Warcraft, los custom maps, Dios mío, eran demasiado buenos. Oh, Dios mío. Dude. Oof.
Are always well received. With that in mind, we have done massive changes to the core Blight mechanic in all tiers of content while not losing focus on what really matters in the end: building towers and killing monsters. Your first encounter with Cassia will be in early white maps, and one thing you may notice is the new interface. There are two new mechanics you must learn. First one, you can now use oils to roll different modifiers on the pump, allowing you to customize both the difficulty of the encounter as well as the potential rewards. You can roll 2 modifiers in a white map, 4 in yellow maps, and up to 6 in red maps. Speaking of oils, they have received a major overhaul. There are still 16 different oils, but they are divided in 4 categories, separated by 4 tiers similar to essence and scarabs.
Concentrated oils, natural oil, o sea, aceites concentrados, aceites naturales, aceites prismáticos y aceites magníficos.
The reason behind this change was that some of them just do the same thing but better, and that is just boring. Also, we didn't like the infinite 3-to-1 conversion from the worst oil up to the best one, as it took some of the drop's weight. Also, this will make more sense later, theme-wise. There are currently 4 different uses for oils, but
la pregunta que tiene en la mente es, ¿y los anoints?
Other new mechanics. Speaking of which, this one is called Purifying. In order to purify the Blight, Cassia will use a map as a catalyst to absorb the spreading fungi from this zone. Doing so will alter said map to become, you guessed it, a Blighted map. Blighted maps can only be acquired now by this process or by killing bosses. More on that later.
Eso no está cool.
Their acquisition will be more deterministic and consistent, but less farmable in bulk of random drops. It will also avoid any future featuring of shitty map layouts. Some maps will take more time to become blighted than others. Its progression is based on their tier and also the map in which you're running the mechanic. If you fail to protect the pump, don't worry. You won't lose the map, only the attempted progression. White maps can only spawn 1 blight encounter, which will have up to 4 routes spreading from their pump, and also the chance to drop oils from tier 1 and tier 2. Yellow maps can have 2 blight encounters, 6 routes, and can drop up to tier 3 oils.
I get it.
It can also spawn unique monsters from portals, which white maps cannot. And red maps, as you may expect, will be the bigger one with 3 blight encounters, 8 routes per pump, and a lot more unique monsters.
Bueno, 3 y 8 líneas por cada pump es considerablemente más.
Also, all oils are able to drop here, but red maps also contains a chance for one of the root portals to mutate with unstable mycelium. When this happens, a portal similar to the Abyssal Depths mechanic will spawn, and you will be able to encounter one of the 4 new unique bosses: the Thorn Scroller, the Vile Bloodsome, the Putrid Harvester, and the Contagious Ember Spore. Each of
mucho sonido en esa parte, pero that's pretty good, man. Estamos viendo una liga inventada por Mako y ya habíamos visto la otra de Conflict. Bro, está genial esto.
Bosses will have special unique drops related to them. 2 of those uniques were already introduced by the Blight League before and are no longer part of the global loot table. Others are being added to complete the set, such as the Vulcanized Iron Ring, which chills you and enemies when you are ignited.
A ver. Ok, a ver, inteligencia, ignite on hit, increase damage with ignite. Tienes chill cuando tú estás ignited. Los enemigos que no estén chill por non-chill enemies, you ignite are chill. Cuando aplicas ignite a un enemigo que no esté chill, le aplicas chill. Ignited enemies you kill con hits shatter. Ok.
Or
un set unique.
Opus Iron Ring, which chills you and enemies when you are impaled. These bosses also drop rare oils,
puede ser.
currency, and special fragments. If you manage to gather all 4 fragments, you can use them in the map device to open a portal to the root of evil, where you may find the origins of the corrupting growths, the blighted heart, and maybe the forgotten idol of Isgazil. Now, before talking about Blighted and Ravaged maps, it's really important to talk about towers. They have been upgraded with new mechanics and options. First, you can now build towers by pressing the F key when standing next to a building.
Nice.
No more running trying to click it only to be one-shotted for stepping on a lane. After
¿Qué pasa si tocas F y seleccionas la torre que no quieres?
that, you will be prompted to select between 6 different options we are familiar with. Those are Fireball, Chilling, Shock Nova, Empowering, Seismic, and Summoning Tower. Here you can also use your keys to select between them, and yes, you can change keybinds in the main menu. Once you choose, for example,
Bueno, esa parte no es realista.
between them, and yes, you can change
Eso no es realista, no te va a dejar cambiar los keybinds.
keybinds in the main menu. Once
No
you
esta
choose, for
cantidad.
example, Fireball, it will upgrade to the T1 Fireball Tower. Now you can leave it like that, upgrade it to Tier 2, or use the newly added button to sell it for a percentage of the original price. You will be able to sell any tower at any point, no matter what type or tier. Upon reaching
Okay.
Tier 3, each type of tower will have 6 different variations, and the upgrade option will change to Overcharge.
Okay.
While in this state,
¿Estos dos los
it will
tenemos?
work at 200% efficiency for 10 seconds, and then deactivate for the next 10. This means you can still improve already maxed out towers with some opportunity cost. Now let's check all the new towers. Fireball now has 4 additional variations.
¿Sabes qué es lo triste de este montón de torres? No sabemos cuáles son todavía, pero seguramente son cool. El tema de esto es que todo se va a reducir a... Me pongo un Mage Flood. Y bueno, mirroreo el arco de TFT. Y me no tengo que construir ninguna torre.
Beside Flamethrower and Meteor Tower. It has
Okay.
Furnace Tower, which burns at high temperatures, dealing fire damage over time to all
Clásico.
surrounding enemies. You can call it the Righteous Fire of Towers. Then we
Okay.
have Smoldering Towers that burn the flesh of nearby monsters, applying Scorch. The Ignition Tower, as you can imagine, ignites enemy using fireballs. And finally, the Detonation Tower that, unlike the rest, doesn't target enemy units directly. Instead, it lays mines on the ground periodically, ready to be blown up when monsters get too close, dealing both physical and fire damage.
Va a poner minas fuera de los caminos y los motos nunca pasan por ahí y no se explotan.
Same was done with every other type of tower. Let's continue. Chilling towers also evolve into Iceberg towers, which creates a pillar of ice that bursts from the ground, creating a chilling explosion. Sub-Zero towers that has nothing to do with boom, exhales cold air, applying brittle to monster caught in it. Winter Tower creates extremely cold weather in a zone which deals cold damage over time, and also chills and freezes enemies that stays too long inside it. And last
Son
but
OP.
not least, Wind Tower, which pushes enemies back with a gust of wind. Let's go into the Dark Secret
Okay.
now.
My life for Nazul.
Summoning towers evolve into bestiary towers, spawning minions that fight monsters from both air and ground,
Okay.
just not as efficient as their specialized counterparts. Acolyte towers fire projectiles that pierce all enemy it hits, dealing chaos damage. The Cobra
Soul
Tower,
Rend.
however, doesn't like magic. Instead, it uses daggers that are thrown to monsters and can chain up to 3 times, applying poison on hit. And the last one is the Possession Tower. It possesses normal monsters for a few seconds before they are detonated in an explosion of physical damage based on their maximum life. You can call it living bombs. Now, 3 more to go. Seismic towers evolve into Avalanche towers, which sends
Okay.
wave of stone towards enemy in a cone. This tower spawns multiple moving tornadoes in a huge area that inflict bleeding to targets they collide with.
Tornado
Then
que
there are
inflige
the
bleed.
Earthquake towers, which stuns enemy in an area while grouping them together at the epicenter. And finally, the Dome towers, which are absolutely perfect to protect yourself from random projectiles hitting you from the off-screen,
Bro, la torre favorita para hardcore.
especially from unique bosses. These towers create a bubble around
Primero de abril.
themselves that protects you and your minions.
Bro, o sea, obviamente no es la próxima liga. ¿Te parece que él es Chris Wilson? Tiene demasiado pelo, men. O sea, es Mako que está haciendo un video de reworkeando una liga. ¿Ok? Ya lo había hecho antes de otra liga y estuvo genial. Vamos a ver este.
Minions from outside
¿Está más
damage.
joven? Sí,
Shock
sí.
Nova, for some reason, is the only
Mako es el
tower
becario de
with two
Chris.
cores instead of one. Why? The two-name tower can evolve into electro towers, which fire slow-moving balls of lightning. The static tower,
Mako tuvo que
which
tomar las
applies
riendas.
sap to nearby enemies.
Lo
The
veo.
laser tower, that unleashes a beam of lightning, electrocuting all enemies it touches. And finally, the Tesla tower, which fires 80% of all useless stuff. Or that was Twitter. Or X. Now, Tesla towers releases shock novas periodically,
Ya lo entendí,
dealing
man.
huge damage and applying max shock. And that's all for damaging towers. The last one is the Empowering Tower, which is the only one focused exclusively on buffing towers. Intensified towers give nearby towers more range. Charged towers sacrifice damage of nearby towers to boost their activation speed. Focused towers
Okay.
work the other way around, decreasing the activation speed to boost damage. And the last one is the Overpowering Tower, which is the upgraded version of the Empowering Tower with a 100% increased effect, but it can only affect the closest tower.
Bueno, construyo 2 torres que stunean y le pongo 2 de estas al lado. No, mentira. Una torre que stunea, le pongo una de estas al lado, una torre que chilea y le pongo esta al lado y los monstruos no se mueven.
Now, it's time to finally
Easy.
talk about... Welcome to the most satisfying clicking experience in Path of Exile.
¿Esto lo juego 100%? Sí, por favor.
It's the building of towers that keep players coming back to this mechanic, but in reality, it's the hidden casino's dopamine. We talked before about the average
True
age of
and
ARPG
real.
players, and if we actually eliminate this pretty filter, we can actually see why we can't stop ourselves from coming back. But don't worry, if you love it, so do we. And that's the reason we are improving the map experience. First, we are reworking the root visuals to be more clear on the screen. This is not an issue when they are like maybe 4 or 6, but when they start to overlap and grow everywhere, it's a nightmare. Also, we are introducing a new mechanic called tower integration. If you pay close attention to the bottom of the screen, you will see this new interface. It seems we have one slot open right now, so what does it do? Well, we can pick up a tower and integrate
Los
it
torres.
to us. It will keep firing and applying its buff exactly like it does
Oh.
when it's placed. However, we can only pick up one tower at a time, and it will be destroyed if we decide to drop it or pick another one. Picking up dome towers is a personal favorite of mine as a divine retribution after
Ahora
years
es
of
aún más
engaging
favorita de
with the most
hardcore.
annoying interaction Path of Exile has to offer besides porcupines, and that is fucking proximity shields. You. We want the Blight encounters in maps to be the place where you
¿Sabes que a veces ellos prometieron de que Proximity Shields iba a ser solamente para el boss y que era un error que aparecieran en los otros monstruos? Y después dijeron, no, o sea, el error era que salían muchos. No te preocupes que ahora va a salir menos. Y después pusieron Blighted Ravaged y te permitieron bufear los mapas Blighted. Y bueno, no, man. No está. Y bueno, ahora tenemos lo que tenemos con Proximity Shield.
learn the basics of tower placement,
Dude, yo me
their
acuerdo.
evolutions, and monster resistances. Blighted maps instead should be the next step in the learning curve, where you learn all about managing those towers around to cover multiple areas, which monster has more resistance to what type of tower, and root pressure. Blighted maps only
Okay.
have one mechanic left to explain, which are the lucky invasions.
Lucky
These will
invasion.
happen randomly to give more flavor to each map. During these invasions, you will see in their interface below a star above the portal icons. A special monster will spawn and rush your pump. It's really fast and it can be slowed or stunned, but has a very small life pool. Kill it and you will receive some rewards, from improving your chest at the end of the map to restoring some life to the pump, or even putting a protecting shield over it to save some durability for later. Blighted maps are the only place where, once it done successfully, are able to drop Ravaged maps. Now,
Makes sense.
what
Así es como
about
mejor.
those maps? Well, Ravaged maps are supposed to be only for the experienced players, the users, as they will be extremely hard. They will run the same mechanics as regular Blighted maps and some more. First off, Portals at the end of each route start only with a single resistance, but over time they will gain additional ones up to a maximum of 3. Not all routes will end up having 3 resistances though. Also, you can expect way more routes growing from the pump in Ravaged maps than Blighted ones. Furthermore,
Ok, esa es una forma cool de hacerlo más difícil, pero inmune al stun, inmune al chill.
lacking invasions are still a thing, but if they manage to reach the pump in Ravaged maps, you will receive a penalty in the form of faster monsters, monsters deal more damage to the pump, monsters cannot be slow below base value, and so on. You don't want to miss them. There is a unique mechanic exclusive to Ravaged maps I haven't talked about yet, and it's called Pump the Pump. Every few minutes,
Pump
you can
the
sacrifice 10% of your pump maximum durability by pumping it hard. It will duplicate chests at the end of a few routes, but
Oh, dude. Oh, estos estampados Hexal. Oh, dude, I love it. Oh, I love this shit so hard, dude. O sea, tú puedes quitarle vida a tu pump para hacer que salgan, para duplicar los cofres y esto es literal XX. Let's go. Queden 1 de vida, man.
routes will gain in return.
Pero eso lo que va a hacer es que si no puedes hacer el Blighted Map con 1 de vida, bueno, no vale la pena que lo compres porque va a estar muy caro.
Maximum resistances to towers.
No
That
hit
will be
Ravaged, literal.
at random. Based on the average time it takes to complete the map, I would say you can pump it 3 times, maybe 4 before the encounters ends. And that will be all for Ravaged maps. This will not be an easy mechanic, but
Capa.
if you manage, you can certainly expect loot raining all over the place and a few minutes to collect them all.
Wow.
We have mentioned that oils have 4 different purposes. Rolling modifiers on pumps is one of them.
Okay.
Anointing jewelry, rings, and unique
Good.
is another. We actually didn't touch the anointing mechanic as it works just fine. We just added new anoints for rings based on the also new towers. Third use for oils will be rolling Blighted and Ravaged maps, just like always. And the fourth and final use is a new mechanic called oiling the lamp.
Se va a pasar yo con-
We know how it sounds. I promise you it's nothing sexual like caring for the Cyclops or tickling my goose. Oh my god. We'll be using oil lamps. It's a new item that can be submitted in your inventory to be used anywhere in Path of Exile. The fumes emanating from the lamp will affect monsters surrounding you in different ways based on the oil mix that is burning inside. Similar to sextants, oils don't burn forever. They need to be refilled every now and then.
Oh, no.
You will lose around 10% per zone, so it will last you approximately 10 maps. Some of these effects are enemy skill.
Bueno, 10 mapas es más o menos.
You cannot take reflected damage from nearby monsters, gain X amount of mana on kill, and so on. The idea is to give you problem-solving options for mapping, but you may find more powerful uses later on when mixing the rarest of oils, such as gold and silver, together creating 50% chance for items to drop corrupted, or 10% chance for monsters to duplicate divination card drops. You can always specialize further into any specific league mechanic through the Atlas.
Tal vez no es tan malo,
We're adding
entonces.
a couple more clusters for Blight on top of the old ones. This is a chest cluster, where you can increase the spawn rate of certain types of rewards, making all other options less frequent. Here, we have 3 special types of rewards.
Fíjate cómo no dice cuánto menos probable es, ¿eh? No, esto es tan pobre, mira, no dice cuánto, o sea, puede ser 1%, 30, 0,1. We don't know, man.
Rewards, making all other options less frequent.
We don't
Here,
know.
we have 3 special nodes. One reduces the amount of roots spreading from the pump, but highly increases the spawn rate of monsters, which is a great way to do the mechanic faster, but sacrificing some rewards. This will eliminate the need to anoint everything using tail oils, which also means not using other oils instead. The other node does the opposite, making the spawn rate lower but allowing more roots to spawn. That will be easier with more rewards, but it will take more time. The third node is an utility one.
Güey, esto es relativo, porque si hay más portales, pero salen... Ah, pero yo estaba pensando como que el número de portales seguía siendo el mismo. Entonces van a haber más tipos de recompensas, pero menos cantidad de un mismo tipo. Porque el otro parecía más OP, porque tú generalmente lo que haces es que si haces Blight en un mapa cerrado, sale un solo portal. Y como es un solo portal, todos los cofres son de Blight.
Rewards, but it will take more time. The third
Exacto.
node is an utility one, which grants the pump the opportunity to avoid damage. It's a small chance, but it can save you from time to time. And finally, there are two major Atlas nodes that completely change the way you play Blight.
¿Ah, sí?
Similar to
Let's see.
Cassia's Pride. One is called Master Mycologist, which makes both Blighted and Ravaged maps to have 300% more chests. But your pump will have 1 durability and no protection from lucky invasions. If you believe in yourself, there is a reward at the end of the road. And the other one is Demolition Man, where all your towers and monsters alike deal no damage to you or your minions. If your build has enough damage, you can still use control towers to help you out a little bit with crowd.
Los monstruos no te hacen daño, son más rápidos, pero tus torres no hacen daño. O sea, este es el tengo un tornado shot XD Demon.
Control. Also, makes Blight hardcore friendly with huge gains. New mechanics and bosses also come with new items. I only show you 2 of them, so let's see a few more. The Putrid Dress is a new lacquer.
Oye, el icono se ve muy... O sea, como un ítem de Poe. Vamos a ver. Increase Evasion Energy Shield. Tiene 1000 de evasión. 280 de Energy Shield. Poison Duration. 20% de respetable. 20% de Poison Hit. Y no está diciendo Spell ni el otro. O sea que sirve para ambos. Enemigos matados por Poison explotan haciendo el daño que falta de Poison como una nova de Chaos Damage. Y el Poison no puede proliferar. ¿Qué tan grande es la nova? Será la pregunta.
Armor that comes with a chance to poison on hit and increase poison duration. The most important mod, however, is the one that says enemy killed by poison explode, dealing the remaining poison damage as a nova of chaos damage. The downside is that poison cannot proliferate once you equip this item. The nova itself is a hit though, so maybe with enough chance to poison, you can make your own fake proliferation. Also, it will help spread curses, and any rare monster next to a pack will be deleted from the server. Cordyceps Echoes is a primordial staff dedicated to Cordyceps builds. It has +3 to level of socketed spell gems, some dot multiplier, and a new buff called Unstable Fungi. Unstable Fungi is a buff that gives you 35% chance for any corpse you or your minions detonate to detonate an additional time. Not even death can protect them from the volatile vapors of a rotting carcass. All living organisms will unwillingly fuel the fungi machinery.
O sea, detonate dead item, básicamente.
This is the flavor text of the Mycelium Heart, a new shield that synergizes with other Blight uniques. The shield itself is a tabula rasa for you to craft on it using your bench. It can have as many crafted modifiers as anoints you have equipped. Only 2 clarifications. It's 1 craft per anoint and not per item anointed, meaning that Strangle Gasp Amulet, for example, can item anoint. Only
Son 5 del Strangle Grasp, 6 de la armadura, 7 de las botas, 8 del casco, 9 del guante. ¿Son 2? Ok, son 10 entonces. La pregunta es entonces, ¿cuáles 10 modificadores puedo craftear que valgan la pena? Porque es un escudo. Sí, supongo que algunas resistencias para capearte. Block Chance si te hace falta. Curse Effect es decente. No hay tantas cosas buenas en el escudo, pero...
Your bench. It can have as many crafted modifiers as anoints you have equipped. Only 2 clarifications. It's 1 craft per anoint and not per item anointed, meaning that Strangle Gasp Amulet, for example, can give you 4 extra crafted mods. Also, you cannot use metacrafts. Parasite Tenure is an amethyst ring that prohibits you or your minions to apply curses. In return, the ring will take care of that. cursing you and nearby enemies by random curses every 10 seconds. With random meaning that both you and enemies can be cursed by one curse, two curses, or all of them at once for a specific amount of time, and here curses limit does not count. It also has built-in reduce effect
Nah,
of
pero
curses,
cada
which
10
most people
segundos
enjoy,
es
and a
mucho
bit of
tiempo.
dexterity always needed in intelligence-focused builds. We wanted to
Es
give
mucho
you
tiempo. O sea que cada 10 segundos se aplica una curse a ti y a los enemigos cercanos. Y los límites de las curses no se aplican para las curses aplicadas de esta manera. O sea que puede aplicar todas las curses y pasa suficiente tiempo cerca de los enemigos, pero uno cada 10 segundos es muy lento. Debería ser como que uno cada 2 segundos o cada 3 y es medio considerable porque, o sea, ¿qué pasa si tú estás haciendo, por ejemplo, vamos a empezar un caso en el que tú hagas daño de 2 elementos, ¿no? Tipo fire y lighting, tal vez, ¿no? Entonces tú estás esperando que te salga flammability y que te salga conductivity y que te salga elemental weakness. Eso es lo que estás esperando. Pues si te sale malevolence no se llama, porque ese es el aura. Pero la curse de caos no te hace nada. Hay un montón que no te hacen nada. Punishment va a ser algo si está en mitad de vida. Pero o sea, hay unas cuantas que valga la pena. Habrá que hacer constantemente. Tienes que esperar un montón. Yo creo que cada 2 segundos. Cada 2 segundos para estar seguro yo creo que está bien. Cada 1 segundo creo que sería como ideal. Sobre todo para estar sacrificando un anillo y te aplicas la curse a ti mismo. Tienes que hacerte inmune también con las curses porque si no te vas a joder.
only one problem to solve, in this case, the curses. This ring could be used by builds that take advantage of having or applying multiple curses that won't be seen themselves using something like Soul Mantle, for example, that is only focused around totems. Finally, not everything has to be related to damage. The Frozen Calamity is a new Cobalt Jewel which freezes enemies that are on full life when damaged by chaos. Incredibly useful as an additional defense and especially for mapping.
No está mal eso. Como dice, 100% de freeze cuando está en full life con chaos damage. Las minas van a estar felices entonces.
2 new keystones have been added to the passive tree. Greedy practices let you develop mobile games faster and Greedy practices makes your auras have 50% reduced effect, but their reservation is half. If you want them all...
Sonríe en Guardian, teniendo más auras o más efecto de las porquerías esas.
A price must be paid. The Constructionist is a new keystone located between the Marauder and the Templar that makes your totem last forever, in exchange of 50% less totem placement speed.
Me parece muy bueno.
Intended mostly for bossing, but players may find new ways to abuse it or invest enough to reduce the downside.
Sí, no parece tan bueno eso.
Leagues without new skills are like bread without butter, like Christmas without a tree, like Disney without politics, or Latin America without inflation. One cannot exist without the other. Also, we think that new leagues should open up.
Is that a motherfucking Argentinian reference?
Explore and aesthetics. Mirror Arrow could have been a skill introduced by the Calandra League, for example.
Okay.
Boring skill for a boring league. You get the idea.
Por alguna razón, Mirror Arrow tiene un comeback después de un milenio de sufrimiento eterno, tal vez algo de disfrute para los jugadores o tal vez para joder con este video script que hice hace un mes. ¿Quién sabe? Solo una cosa es cierta. No voy a reescribir esta mierda, así que... no voy a reorganizarme alrededor de esto. Hagan el amor, no cock.
So let's explore some of them for
Okay.
Blight. Sporework is a new active spell gem that you can toggle on and off. When it's on, you leave spores on the ground that explode after a few seconds, dealing chaos damage. Each spore grows over time while standing on top of it, dealing more damage and having more area of effect. You can link it with less duration support to explode them more frequently, or increase duration support for it to grow bigger, dealing massive damage at a lower pace. It's up to you. Mycelium Golem is the missing option between all golems, which
¿Qué daño dijo que hacía? Porque si puedo, tal vez puedo poner eso con el Herald Thunder.
grants increased damage over time to allies nearby. It also throws binds that pull enemies together, and gem quality gives you damaging elements deal damage faster. Maybe in the future we should add one with energy shield regeneration, but we have Celo's Oath, so eh. And the last one is called Mutation Nova.
Chaos damage?
It's a spell that grants a buff similar to how Righteous Fire works. When active, every 5 seconds the organism mutates and releases a pulse of physical damage to all nearby enemies based on the amount of energy shield you have lost since its last activation. You can cast the spell preemptively at any time, which resets the timer. Increase and reduce duration affects the activation frequency. If you find new ways to deplete your energy shield, you may become a walking bomb.
Ok.
Diablo 4 and OnlyFans streamers have one thing in common. They manipulate lonely people to burn money for something they won't ever receive. A finished product and a long-term satisfaction. Also, both of them offer a shitty version of something that is free for everyone.
Oh my god! Okay, dude.
Let's go waiting. After a lot of thoughts and hours upon hours of reading what the community is saying on Reddit, we've
Vamos, pero esa es una opción de algo que es gratis en otro lado. Path of Exile y
decided that the new MTX will be Cassia's Dream Gag is a new MTX that can be applied
Ok, no.
to the Templar to shut her up.
And the unrighteous were turned to ash.
You can regulate
God,
its
no,
brightness
no.
and change between 2 different colors to better suit your fantasies. Multiverse Tower is a new MTX exclusive for Blight. It allows you to change the look of your towers,
sí.
but be responsible with such power. Box of Shame is a new hideout decoration which shows everyone passing by how many Weta pets you own. Never before have we seen such clear connection between opportunity and poverty. Are you cringe enough to consider yourself a child? Maybe a risk taker? Someone who double corrupts mirror tier items just to prove a point? Then this MTX is for you. Fungal Balls is a new MTX that you can apply to your belt to hang a pair of balls. Each time you double corrupt a unique item, your balls will grow in size.
Ok, dude. Esto con las últimas cosas que pusieron de Path of Exile puede ser que estén, ¿eh?
Given enough time and your balls will scrape the concrete. First, thank you so much for staying for this whole presentation. Also, what are your thoughts about the blind
God,
mechanics
balls.
and which league should I tackle next in this legacy series? Please leave in the comments below as any
I will
form of
never touch
interaction
Blight
helps
with a
my
laser
channel grow
pointer.
and motivates me enormously. Also, these videos are pure brainstorming and should not be taken as balanced manifestos. I know nothing about game design. Thank you again for your time. Take care. Un abrazo.
Mandándole esto a Chris Wilson ahora mismo. Bro. I rate this video 9 out of 11. Dios mío. Bro, what the fuck? Bro, hay un par de estas que salieron de la nada. O sea, no puedo creer que haya grabado la voz.
To shut her up.
And the unrighteous were turned to ash.
You can
Oh my god. Oh my god. Bro, y el de los... El de las botas puede ser, ¿eh? El de las botas pudiera ser. Box of Shame. Dice, ¿cuántas vueltas tienes? Esa en realidad es una buena idea, ¿eh? Pero bueno, este salió de la nada. Por eso la recomiendan el video. ¿Cómo puede ser este 47? Bro, no puede ser, men. Por esto, bro, esta es la razón por la que este video no es recomendable, men. Por eso YouTube no te quiere, Mako. Bro, me encanta. Ok. GG. Oh, Dios. Oh, Dios. Qué buen video, man.